what the mainstream media was afraid to tell you about the news this week. This week, while the mainstream media was obsessing about their post office conspiracy theory, here are the things that happened that really matter. 8-year-old James Younger, a biological boy from Texas, whose mother tells him he is a transgender girl named Luna, while his father says James wants to be who he is, a boy named James. He's back in the crosshairs of the radical leftist ideology. In a court decision handed down this week, a Texas judge named Mary Brown ruled that the boy's mother gets full custody and full medical decision-making power over the child, while James's father is under gag order, not allowed to discuss the case in public and forced to pay for James's gender counseling and transition, despite no power to participate in choosing the counselor or the medical provider. A Facebook page run by James's father, Jeffrey Younger's friends, it's called Save James, says the cost of the gender counseling and transition is $5,000 per month. By the way, there's evidence that James is suffering abuse at the hands of his mother. When he was 3 years old, James's mother told him he was a girl. She then locked him in his room and told him monsters only eat little boys. She withheld affection reportedly from James unless he acted like a girl. She dressed James in dresses, painted his nails, bought him headbands and hair clips, took him to a transgender clinic, and she told the court she'd put James on puberty blockers to chemically castrate him when he was 8 or 9 years old, to turn him into a transgender girl. But then when a judge told James that he could pick his own gender, James chose to go to school dressed as a boy. But did the mainstream media report this story to you? No, they did not. Former FBI lawyer Kevin Clinesmith pleads guilty to falsifying evidence in the Trump-Russia probe. Clinesmith altered an email to make it seem like Trump campaign official Carter Page was a Russian agent, when Clinesmith knew that Carter Page had worked with the U.S. intelligence community to take down Russian agents. Then Clinesmith used the falsified evidence to justify continued spying on Carter Page. But did the mainstream media report on this criminal behavior in this guilty plea? Barely. The mainstream media barely mentioned it. Imperial College London's Neil Ferguson, author of the infamous COVID-19 prediction model that projected 2 million American deaths and 500,000 British deaths from COVID-19 if the government did not lock down everybody and everything, he is financially invested in a vaccine after calling for an indefinite lockdown, which of course implies a lockdown until a vaccine. But did the mainstream media report on this corrupt conflict of interest? Nope. The mainstream media refused to cover this story. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that California's ban on high-capacity magazines violates citizens' constitutional right to keep and bear arms. The court said, and I quote, "California's near-categorical ban of large-capacity magazines infringes on the fundamental right to self-defense. It criminalizes the possession of half of all magazines in America today," end quote. But did the mainstream media report on this ruling or the right of citizens to keep and bear arms? No. The mainstream media brushed this under the rug. According to new significant research into COVID-19 immunity, the body can combat the virus using T cells in addition to antibodies. In fact, a new study found that T-cell immunity exists in a large percentage of the population who has not contracted COVID-19. This study, published on Cell.com, shows T-cell cross-immunity in 28% of unexposed healthy blood donors who were tested. The authors of the study write, and I quote, "We detected cross-reactive T-cell responses against spike or membrane in 28% of the unexposed healthy blood donors, consistent with a high degree of pre-existing immune responses potentially induced by other coronaviruses." They continue, "Robust memory T-cell responses months after infection, even in the absence of detectable circulating antibodies specific for SARS-CoV-2, indicating a previously unanticipated degree of population-level immunity against COVID-19, end quote. This means a large portion of the population already likely has a built-in immunity to the virus. But did the mainstream media report this to you? No, they did not. The mainstream media doesn't care to report any of that to you, so we will.